Coco Coir is a very good rooting medium for cuttings of figs and many other plants. The Coco Coir has a neutral pH and is inert and sterile, so plants can grow in a disease and pest-free medium. However, Coco Coir absorbs water like a sponge, so avoid exceeding the recommendations of the manufacturer when preparing this medium. Allow enough time for most of the water to be absorbed by the cocoa fiber before adding more. This cocoa brick will absorb 18 liters, almost 5 gallons of water, before being ready to use. Break the surface of the brick and separate larger blocks into smaller pieces. Add a bit more water when facing larger dry areas. Mix well, as the cocoa fiber in the bottom of the box will have a tendency to absorb more water. Ideally, the medium should feel moist but not wet. I prefer to use medium-sized containers with a lid that can hold a few rooting cuttings. These shoe boxes have the perfect size for my rooting needs, and the lid is not completely hermetic, which is ideal for the job. Usually I only fill half the box with the Coco Coir. The space is enough for 2 rows of cuttings and the boxes can be easily stacked. Preferably, they should be placed away from direct sun, in a place that doesn't have large temperature variations. Rooting the cuttings in the horizontal position allows for a more uniform rooting medium regarding moisture levels. It's very easy to see if the medium needs water, as it changes to a lighter color when dry. You can add water directly at the base of the cuttings or spray the medium as needed. Remember the enormous capability of Coco Coir to absorb water when restoring humidity levels. Even with this horizontal rooting method, there will be a slight difference in moisture levels between the top and the bottom of the box. When rooting cuttings in a vertical position, the difference is even greater, and it's the main reason cuttings rot at the base due to much water. Fungus growth in Coco Coir is not common, especially if you open the boxes to control excessive moisture from time to time. As soon as the cuttings start to grow leaves, I tend to leave the box opened. Help the leaves transition to a lower humidity environment by spraying water as needed. Larger containers are also an option for rooting cuttings. However, if the cuttings are in a vertical position, the same problems of variable moisture levels will apply. Adding water directly to the container may also create problems of bottom rot, so spraying is preferable. Overall, keeping the right humidity levels is the key for success. Wound-induced callus formation is responsible for the development of new tissues and organs. The area near a node has the greatest potential to develop new tissues based on undifferentiated cells. The lateral scrapes near the node tend to induce the development of rooty callus. Parafilm wrapping of the area out of the Coco Coir helps to preserve the cutting inner moisture and protects against fungus development. The bottom cut should be near the node, avoiding a long internode area at the base of the cutting that tends to rot easily. Auxin and cytokinin plant hormones have the potential to induce the regeneration of new roots and shoots. Using a rooting hormone might speed up the development of new roots, but this step is not essential for this rooting method. Beware that the concentration of the auxin used in the rooting product is critical and in some cases can even affect root development in a negative way. When using gel-based products, allow them to dry a bit before placing the cutting in the rooting medium. Removing the cuttings after a few weeks in the Coco Coir with a few small roots is a viable option. Placing them in individual pots with a suitable potting medium at this stage will avoid the problems of manipulating delicate longer roots at a later stage. However, some cuttings will need more time in the Coco Coir to develop enough roots. Others, more vigorous, will produce lots of roots in the same time and will start to be difficult to manipulate. After a few more weeks, most cuttings will have leaves and a decent root ball. While potting up at this stage is still possible, some cuttings can suffer a shock and die with the disturbance and the change to the potting medium. Another option is maintaining the cuttings in the Coco Coir for an extended period of time. Adding a liquid fertilizer in low concentrations to the water will be required to provide the necessary nutrients to the developing plants. Watering can be done at the base of the cuttings once or twice a week. The large leaves and developed root system are already able to support variable conditions of humidity. Placing the boxes in a more upright position will allow for the vertical growth of the new shoots. Tangled roots of different plants are to be expected at this stage, and they can be enough to maintain the medium together. A few cuttings may not develop roots, but the percentage is usually very low. Separating the plants is usually not a problem, since these older roots are much more resistant to manipulation. Shake most of the Coco Coir off, since it can cause problems absorbing too much water in the pots. If the weather is too hot, spray the roots to keep them moist while the plants wait to be potted. Avoid the use of heavy potting mixes at this stage to ease the transition of the plants. With such a long period of rooting, differences of vigor can start to cause problems of competition between the developing plants. That's why when using this method, it's best to avoid placing too many cuttings in each box. Nevertheless, this option allows for an almost trouble-free transition to the pots. Most plants react very well to the potting up at this stage, unlike the ones that leave the Coco Coir after just a few weeks. In the first days after potting up, avoid watering excessively and always prefer a well-draining potting medium. Plants rooted with this method grow quickly and healthy, as you can see with these examples from last year. If you appreciate my work, like, subscribe, share the video and leave a comment to help me make more. Click the bell and turn on notifications on your device so you don't miss my next videos. Thanks for watching. Check the channel for more videos on rooting, grafting and pruning fruit trees like this.